filming from a public road, which is totally legal. But that didn't, the fact that we were operating legally didn't stop them from trying to intimidate us and kind of, stir up fear, and make sure that we knew that they were, watching us. And so, yeah, that was, something that we always had to keep in mind, that if we did kind of run any risks of trespassing or anything like that, that we would not be treated well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you were
When did
first. No, yes,
when
you
did you
stand.
start making the film?
We started in February of 2018.
Okay, because I was a little confused. It looked like something started in '99, and that looks like about the time you were born. So I was wondering where all of the footage came from earlier, how you were able to put all that together to bring the whole piece together today.
Yeah, we were very fortunate to get some of that really great archival footage. I think maybe you're referring to the footage of Elsie and her mother, kind of toward the beginning of the film, the older kind of footage. Yeah, that was from Rick Dove, the waterkeeper, actually went out and met with Elsie and her mother, and he, I don't think, had done much of that kind of filming before. He was primarily focused on, what he did was go up into planes and fly over eastern North Carolina to document pollution, and he would take, video footage and photographs of that. But I think once he met Elsie, he just recognized that she had such a powerful story. He wanted, I think, to capture her mother's experience, because that was also, a significant motivator for Elsie to be in the fight, and that story of Elsie's mother being intimidated by the farmer was just so tragic. So yeah, we're so grateful that Rick had that idea to capture those early days. And something that I really appreciate about that footage is that is the only kind of footage that we have of Elsie expressing just this kind of raw anger. I think over time, as she became a spokesperson for this issue and she was interviewed by the media, you can see her approach to that kind of soften. And I think that's in part probably because she learned that white people just couldn't handle her anger, which, her kind of rage about this is completely justified. But I think she had to kind of learn to somewhat censor herself and hold that back. So I was particularly grateful that Rick actually captured that, like she captured her cursing at the situation and just expressing that kind of raw emotion.
What propelled you into this project? Was what doors opened, what skies opened, and suddenly you were on it?
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I was born and raised in North Carolina. I started kind of learning about issues related to the environment in high school, and was really particularly interested in the impact that the food system has on the environment. And that's kind of what I focused my studies on in college as well. And I ended up doing my undergraduate honors thesis on the pork industry. And I looked at its impacts on, people, of course, on public health, on workers, on the state's economy. I kind of looked at it from every angle. And this was the piece that was most kind of heartbreaking to me and struck me the most. And I grew up, I didn't grow up in eastern North Carolina. I grew up in a wealthier and whiter part of the state, but it was only about an hour down the road, from where all of this was taking place. And I think I was particularly outraged at the fact that even people in my community, which was, not that far away from this, had no idea that this was happening. So I had that experience that kind of made me into an activist, and then was later working at a nonprofit doing video production with my colleague who's the director of the film, my co-producer. And he was like, I think we should do a feature doc, and this was the story that I suggested we tell, because I thought, there hadn't been a feature film made on this before. It had been covered in the media to some extent, but I thought it really deserved, I thought the people that we ended up working with deserved to tell their story in a feature-length format.
Thank you.